This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our sponsor, Greenworks Consults, a company run by longtime listener to the show, Jason, who's an expert when it comes to helping businesses get better at doing business. Swing over to greenworksconsults.com with works spelled W-O-R-X to read up on all the things that Jason and his team of fellow experts can do to help you save more of your hard-earned money at the end of each month. That's greenworksconsults.com. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Tuesday, February 25th, 2020, and you're tuned in to episode 891 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Vermont leads off the news day today as the state's House Appropriations Committee voted yesterday 6-5 in favor of a bill allowing for legal marijuana sales, pushing the legislation, Senate Bill 54, on to the full House for consideration. The bill has already been approved by the Vermont State Senate, so a passage by the full House would send it onto the desk of Governor Phil Scott, who has indicated a willingness to sign. The legislation, which has gone through a number of changes in its time in the House, currently calls for a 20% overall tax rate on adult use sales, and unfortunately a limit on THC at 30% for flower and 60% for concentrates. Although there's not a terrific amount of people living in Vermont relative to other states, this storyline has a broader impact within the overall transition to legal adult use that's going on in the Northeast. Once Vermont gets around to allowing for adult use sales, New Hampshire will fully be an island of prohibitionary policy surrounded by neighbors allowing for commercial cannabis. Kyle Yeager over Marijuana Moment has all the details on this if you need more. Randy Robinson over Mary Jane has our second top story today, and it's one of deep injustice. High school student Jonathan Therese Resendez was caught by teachers in his school back in November for having some marijuana vape cartridges in his backpack. School officials first called his mother, as they should have, before then calling the police, who arrested him for possession of cannabis. And because Mr. Resendez was brought over to the United States as a young boy illegally by his parents, he was transferred from police custody to the detention of the evil government organization ICE for deportation back to Mexico, a place where he's not lived since he was 6 years old. This is a kid who got caught with some marijuana, just like a lot of kids do everywhere, including yours truly when I was 18. But because Jonathan Therese Resendez came to this country outside normal channels when he was 6 years old, and because our country is currently led by a racist, corrupt, and criminal dictator, he is being shipped away from his home and being sent to Mexico. That is disgusting and a complete miscarriage of justice. The time for patriots to stand up to this Trumponian bullshit is well past us now. None of this is normal. Deborah Borchard over at Green Market Report has our final top story in the day with a pickup of news that Ohio-based company Green Growth Brands is getting out of the CBD game, announcing that it was selling off all of its CBD business to the BRN Group. This landed as a top story today because all of the hype that Green Growth Brands drummed up about their entrance into the CBD retail market. Regular listeners might remember that Green Growth Brands was started up by a group of former retail executives from Victoria's Secret and DSW Shoes who touted their collective years of retail experience in press releases accompanying the opening of dozens of CBD stores located in malls across the nation. But as Deb's story details, things did not shake out for Green Growth Brands quite as they hoped, as right now the company is running in the red. There are some big numbers attached to this, so maybe not a bad one to read in full today. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Greenworks Consults. which is run by longtime listener to the show, Jason, who's an expert when it comes to helping businesses get better at doing business. If you run a business, you know there's a lot of things that you could and should be doing better. But for every one of those things that you're aware of, there's probably one or two other hidden inefficiencies draining away your money each month. It's just the realities of running a business. You can't see everything. That's where experts like Jason and his team at Greenworks Consults comes in. They know all the different ways to poke around and parse out a company's operations in search of places where you could be doing things better and in a more cost-effective manner. That means you'll have more money in your bank account at the end of each month. If you like the idea of having more money in your bank account, then you should open up greenworksconsults.com with works spelled W-O-R-X and get in touch with Jason to learn how to get started. That's greenworksconsults.com. All right, time for the Blitz. The Associated Press has a good piece of original reporting up looking at a case of criminal corruption within the ranks of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, as former model agent Jose Irizarry and his wife Nathalia Gomez Irizarry were arrested just on Friday as part of a 19-count federal indictment accusing Mr. Irizarry of using his position at the DEA to siphon and steal millions of dollars. It's a really interesting and compelling story and nicely illustrates why it's a cosmically stupid idea to treat drugs the way we do in this nation. Give this one a read. Marijuana Business Daily has a handy chart up as a part of their series looking at current wholesale cannabis prices in different states compared to where they were last year. This time they turn up to Alaska, where Bart Shainman lays out some good context and details for the chart showing current wholesale prices of $4,000 per pound for 30% THC indoor and $3,000 per pound for 20% indoor. Alaska taxes its legal marijuana at the cultivation level at $800 per pound, which drives up the base cost from that point on. That's why Alaska growers are getting top dollar. Ben Adlin, writing over at Leafly today, picks apart a proposed bill in Arizona that would set the extreme THC limit on legal medical marijuana products at 2% THC, which would basically remove everything from dispensary shelves that wasn't strictly hemp. It would be a total disaster. HCR 2045 was introduced by, you guessed it, conservative lawmakers and has backing from police. Worst of luck to all involved in passing that one. Not a bad story to read in full today. CNN is reporting on a new study just published in the Journal of the American Medical Association that finds a sharp uptick in the number of older Americans who are using cannabis, as the percentage of those age 65 and older who consume marijuana doubled up between the years 2015 and 2018. Given the well-known medicinal effects that cannabis has, it shouldn't be too surprising to hear that older folks are increasingly turning to medical marijuana to find relief from various ailments, but it's good to have some numbers behind the intuition. There's lots of interesting angles and opportunities here. Another one you should probably open up. New Mexico will soon offer reciprocity to out-of-state visitors with medical marijuana cards as part of a longer-running storyline involving a policy banning non-state residents from becoming registered as medical marijuana patients. We've reported on this one before as the state was sued to open up its patient registry to non-residents. There was a brief time when New Mexico actually enrolled people from other states, but then decided it would be easier to navigate federal laws over cannabis if it just offered up reciprocity. So that's where we are today. The new policy allowing for out-of-state patients to purchase will go into effect on July 1st. Kyle's back to end out the day's news with two stories. First one up about leading Democratic presidential candidate Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, who is running ads in South Carolina right now, which will soon vote in the Democratic primaries, pushing his plan to legalize marijuana and to generally reform our criminal justice system. It's another one of those stories that wonderfully shows how mainstream cannabis policy and overall drug policy reform is in Democratic national politics. And lastly for the day, Kyle's second piece here wraps us up in Mississippi, where conservative lawmakers are engaged in some par for their course political muckwork, with a number of newly introduced bills in the state House and Senate that would create weak and watered down medical marijuana programs. This comes at the same time a proper citizens initiative is in the works to create an actual working medical marijuana program that would help patients live better lives. But Republicans aren't interested in that, so they're introducing alternative bills and resolutions to confuse voters and the overall matter at hand. This one also gets a worst of luck to everyone involved. Definitely a storyline that should be on your general industry radar. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Greenworks Consult, and to our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.